Hello everyone. Today we're going to look at a game between Levon Aronian with the white pieces and Vasily Ivanchuk with the black pieces. This is from FIDE Candidates Tournament Round 10 in 2013. And the reason why I chose this game is because of the opening. So Levon had the white pieces. Game started off D4, knight f6 from Ivanchuk, C4. And can you guess what the next move was? Probably not. E5. Yes, the Budapest Gambit. All right, and now this is a very rare guess at top levels, but of course, uh, Ivanchuk is able to play almost any type of opening uh, at the drop of a dime. So he's one of the few GMs that will switch up and just throw an absolute curveball to his opponent. And what I like about it is that he actually played this in a serious game, right? In the FIDE Candidates tournament. The only other example I can think of where this opening was played at the absolute highest levels in a serious a tournament was uh, when Nigel Short played Anatoly Karpov in their candidates match. The first and game one of their candidates match, Nigel Short played with the black pieces the same opening against Anatoly Karpov. So here we go. So e5, d takes e5. Of course, the most principal continuation. Any other type of continuation is really going to just hand equality over for black to black. Knight g4, knight f3, knight c6, bishop f4, the most principal continuation so far for white. Bishop b4, and now knight c3. This is the most ambitious line right here. Okay, this is basically white saying, I don't believe you, to black. All right. Um, so, and this is basically, in the style of Aronian, especially at that time, right? We were talking about Aronian a few years ago as probably being you know, the main challenger to the throne of Magnus Carlsen. Right, so here he's playing the most ambitious moves in the position, right? Basically trying to refute Black's opening. Now, for those of you who do not like to play the most ambitious move, Knight BD2 gives White an advantage also. Okay, after Queen E7, E3, Knight G takes E5, Knight takes E5, Bishop E2, and Black uh, has very little chance of winning, and white, has a small advantage. Okay, and this line is one of the reasons why this opening is not very popular. It's just too easy for white to play with a slight advantage, and black has very little chances of winning. So back to the game. Knight c3 was played. Bishop takes c3. B takes c3, and now Queen e7. Queen d5, holding on to that extra pawn, and now f6. This is all theory. E takes f6, knight takes f6, Queen d3. So of course you should be able to see here that black's argument for being down a pawn is that he has this compromised pawn structure on the white queen side of the board. So that's where the argument will take place. White, of course, is arguing that he's up material, and also he has the bishop pair to compensate for his deteriorated pawn structure here. And practice has shown that white is correct, and white is winning that argument. So d6, g3, castle, bishop g2. So very solid play by Aronian. Notice how he sets up the very strong defensive setup by kettling the bishop on the king side, all right, in order to mitigate black's control over the E and F files, because that's where the crux of black's attack will come, is the king side. So Aronian sets up a beautiful fortress on the king side and says, come and get me. So bishop g4, castle, rook a e8. Notice another thing about black's setup is how easy his development is. All right, so this would be fantastic if black wasn't down a pawn, but at the end of the day, black is going to have to show compensation for that pawn. Now right here, black happens to be attacking the e pawn here. All right, but that's easily defended by rook a e1. All right, and so what happens here is black uh, not just protects the e2 pawn, all right, but what he wants to do is make d4 possible, knight d4 possible later. Okay, so for example, rook a b1 attacking this pawn, for example, and queen takes e2 would be bad for black, as you can see here. So for instance, rook takes, and this line all falls in black's favor. Excuse me, white's favor after bishop d1 or just tucking the bishop back on g2. All right, white is still for choice here. So rook a b1 is possible. So b6 would have to be played, and then rook b e1. h8, and this is a game that took place between Predrag Nikolic and Johnny Hector. And white had went on to win, to being slightly better in this game here. So rook a e1 was played. Now let me just say that besides white being a pawn up, he also has the two bishops. Okay, that's the thing. Even though black has great development, all right, it's hard to argue that this compensates for being a pawn down. Uh, because the simple fact of the matter is that you can have great development and just be equal in material. Like there's no reason to be a pawn down and have great development. You know, so that's what's funny about it. Like I don't really see the allure of the Budapest Gambit, but that's just my my opinion. Like why you can have great development and have the pawn instead of having great development and be a pawn down. Because the thing is white also has great development. It's not like white's development is all awkward and busted. White has good development too, but he's up a pawn. Okay, and black's main attack, which is going to be on the king side, the fortress by white. Look at all the white's pieces in this fianchetto setup. All right, so his king is safe. Um, his extra pawn on the king side, right? Like for any kind of endgame. So, this 3-2 majority might play in the factor into it later. So it's hard to see if that black really has compensation here. I mean, let me know if I'm wrong about that. King h8. Okay, getting off the diagonal. And now knight d4. Alright. Another idea is h3 here. And the main idea is if bishop takes f3, then bishop takes f3. Okay? And then now knight e5 not really possible. Okay, because at the end this b7 pawn will be hanging at the end of that. Okay? So h3, bishop d7, and now c5. Okay, and the idea of this move is to play against this idea of b6. Okay, the reason is because black would like to play b6 here at some point, in order to keep these pawns immobilized. Remember, I'm always saying in my videos about demobilizing the pawns, right? As long as they can't move, they become fixed, and then you can attack a fixed target, right? They say don't attack a moving target. Well, the principle is the same here. As long as these pawns are mobile and stuff, attacking them can be tricky because they might advance. So B6 is an idea that black will often employ to just fix those pawns, right, so that they become static weaknesses. So the idea in this line is after H3, bishop D7, then C5 is played, all right, and then for instance D takes C5, and now E4, and notice again this 4-2 majority on the king side. Bishop E6, knight G5, rook D8, and now queen C2. And this is good for white. Again, have the 4-2 majority on the king side, right? It's great, right? In the middle game and going into the end, plus the 2 bishops, all right? And one more thing is bishop C4, bishop C4 fails to E5, bishop D3, and then simply E takes F6. All right, so that's just a sample. Okay, if white just try to play H3, all right, that's a good option also. Aronian played knight D4, and now knight E5, right, giving black a little counterplay here. So bishop takes, so he parts with the bishop here. D takes, and now knight F5. Bishop takes, queen takes, and now knight D7. Queen E4. C6. Okay, so now we see black kind of tightening up his queen side a little bit. All right, and white is still slightly better here, but black is starting to unravel a little bit. Okay, so Ivanchuk is unraveling his positions. Okay, rook D1, knight B6, rook D3, and now queen C5. So he's just simply attacking these pawns now. Queen H4. All right. So now what happens is basically Aronian is saying, something's gone wrong, right? Black is starting to get compensation, attacking these pawns on the queen side. So Aronian decides to just burn his bridges, and now he's gonna go for a king side attack. All right. Note also that Ivanchuk was short on time. Now, those of you who know about Ivanchuk, he's constantly in time trouble. All right, great player, but always in time trouble. G6, bishop E4. So tactics are on the board, right? Bishop takes G6, king G7, king G2, and queen takes C4. Okay, so now he's in white's territory and is gained a pawn back. Rook FD1, and queen takes A2. All of this in time trouble. Okay, so I mean this is definitely risky, but probably the best continuation. In other words, he has to keep stay with this plan at this point of attacking on the queen side. All right, but it's very risky. All right. Black could have played knight d5, for example, and went into this ending. But this is a better ending for white here. All right. So he plays queen takes a2. G4 was played by Aronian. Very the best move here. probably like a move like rook d6. But he played g4 with this obvious idea of bringing the rook here. Basically, he's gonna try to mate Ivanchuk. All right, and I think he was playing a little bit against Ivanchuk's time on the clock too. All right, but the thing is the position is becoming sharp, right? And if you're in time trouble, you have to think, about a lot of variations. It's very difficult. So rook f4, bishop f5 from Aronian. Okay, of course, now the threat is just rook d7 here. Okay, with the mating attack. So the idea here is if g takes f5, rook d7, knight takes d7, rook d7. Okay, and black has to give up the queen to stop from being mated. This is a winning endgame for black. Excuse me, for white. Knight d5, so rook h3, and now finally rook h8, and Ivanchuk finally cracks under the pressure. h5. Okay, it's very complicated. And so during the game, after rook h8, e3. Okay, so now the rook is attacked here. So now what do you play? G takes f5 here. If rook takes f2, then just queen takes, king takes, and G takes f5. Again, this is better for white. So e3, G takes, and E takes f4. And then Ivanchuk, of course, lost on time, but he was still in a hopeless position regardless. So that was an exciting game there. Very bold choice of opening by Ivanchuk. He did pretty good in defense and actually turning the game around. So we can't say necessarily that he lost due to the opening. Um, I think he lost more due to his time pressure in the situation. So again, like I said, I hope you enjoyed that game. I hope you learned a little something about the rules in books related to the opening discussed today. And also, please hit that donate button. And I'll see you guys soon on the next video.